Hi everyone, this is Steve. Welcome back to Scale Model Kit Review. In this video I'll be continuing my build with the Agora Models T-800 Terminator. I am on pack 3 working on stage 22. We're going to work on the skull a little bit. It's a blast. Pay attention to what I do in this video. It will help you out and it'll probably help you with less aggravation with this step because there's a lot of tiny fiddly bits going on with this part of the build. So if you haven't done so already, head over to Agora Models and subscribe to this kit today. You won't regret it. They also have available the new Shelby AC Cobra kit. It's fantastic and you should sign up for that also. And they are taking pre-orders for the Bismarck. So it looks like it's going to come out here in the US for everybody to build. So remember the Agora promise. Once they start sending out parts for a build, it won't end. You're going to get the complete kit as it goes along. So with that, let's get started on stage 22.
Phased plasma rifle in 40-watt range. Uzi 9mm. I'll be back.
Welcome back. Let's look at the instructions for stage 22. And as you can see here, stage 22s will connect the jaw and assemble the head. And we received a sprue tree here and a couple of parts, which we'll look at here a little closer. You'll need a cutting mat, some tweezers, a fine dressmaking pin or needle, some super glue of course, and then we'll need a head assembly from stage 21. And the faceplate assembly from stage 10. And as you can see here, we have just a few steps involved here. We're installing some of the actuator assemblies onto the face. There's some very fine pins that we'll be using here. That's what the tweezers are for. And they tell us we can use a needle to help line up the holes before we try to insert the pins. So with these pins, we got to be very careful that we don't drop them and lose them. Okay, and last few steps over here on the left side of the page here. You know, we're going to have a completed head here in a few minutes. So let me get these parts out, and we'll get a closer look, and we'll assemble this issue. I'll be right back. And here's how the parts are presented in the blister pack. I can tell there's some metal parts in here, and those very tiny pins are located back in here in a separate bag. So I'll go ahead and pull this out and we'll get a closer look. Here's a close-up of the parts. We received what they call the right shoulder. This is made out of metal. Very good there. And we received those jaw pins. There's 3 of them in the bag here. You just barely see them. They are pretty small. And I'll give you a screen capture of the parts here that are included as far as the right jaw and left jaw connectors. And with the screen capture you can see the part numbers and how they are associated there. Alright, let's get started. Here's a close-up of those pins. Now, after doing a little investigating with those pins, they must be aluminum and they're non-metallic. So here's my magnetized screwdriver, and notice they're not attracted to the screwdriver. So don't worry about having to use non-metallic tweezers or anything like that. Let me zoom out and show you some tweezers here. Here's a couple examples of tweezers you can use for this. Now you want to be very careful because if you put too much pressure on the part, it'll go flying off and you'll lose the part. But these are the Tamiya tweezers, very nice, heavy duty. They have a great tip on the end of them, and I highly recommend these tweezers here. Then you have what we call some non-metallic tweezers, and you can see they have a non-metallic end on it, which is necessary sometimes when you're handling metal parts that are attracted to metallic components. So found out those pins are not magnetized in any way, so we really don't need to use these tweezers here. Now you can find both of these types of tweezers in my Amazon store if you so choose to purchase yourself a set. Now for this next step, we're going to assemble, I believe it's the right hand jaw connectors. Now they tell us we may have to remove some of the material between the joints that we're going to be assembling, and the tool best used for that would be this Tamiya flat file, and it's from the basic set, so you can actually find this on my Amazon store and purchase this for yourself. And I'll show you how we're going to use this here in a second. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to remove 22.5 and 22.2. We're going to use some good Tamiya sprue cutters to do that. Carefully cut it as close as we can. There we go. And we'll leave the other ones on until we're ready to assemble them. Just take and clean this up a little bit here. That looks good. And what they want us to do is put this together here, like this. Put that on top. And it actually goes together pretty well. Still want to kind of clean this up here on here that might interfere. So I'm just going to file it down just a little bit there. Take just a little bit of the material off here, chrome plating. And a little bit off that too. That should be good. Then it goes in like that. We're going to go ahead and put these together, and it doesn't seem to be an issue with it going together or any of the holes lining up, but you can help yourself with the alignment with a pin here in a second. And I'm just going to put some yellow tack down to secure it to the yellow tack, just like that. And I'm going to do the same with the other side. And it's just going to make it easier to get everything together here. And secure everything down there now that the pin is through it. Next, I'll take my little pin, not too much pressure on it, insert it into the hole. Just like that. And take my X-Acto knife here and push it through. There we go. And it is through. And that worked good. Using the yellow tack, you could use blue tack also if you want, but your pin needs to be flush on both sides, and we didn't lose it. Next we go to step 4, as we just completed step 1, 2, and 3, and we're going to actually install this jaw connector to the jaw here. Okay, so it's actually going to go just like that into the jaw, and we'll get a closer look here so you can see what's going on with that. Now on the jaw itself, there's a hole here on the underside, and there's a hole over here on the underside. So we're simply going to do a test fit here first. We're going to slide this in to those holes. You can see that, just like that. And then this will simply drop down into right there. It just drops right down into that. Okay. Now, I've already got it inserted, so what I'm going to go ahead and do is use my favorite super glue, Gorilla Glue super glue. This is awesome. It's a thick super glue. You can see that little dab there, and I'll use my glue looper to apply it right in there. That should be more than enough glue, and to make it easier, slide that in with my tweezers. Perfect. I'm going to go ahead and use some super glue accelerator, or what I call kicker, and just spray a little bit on that joint, and that will help it to dry a little faster. I'll be right back with the next steps. Next, we'll go ahead and do steps 6, 7, and 8, which is the other side. So we're going to cut off 22.3 and 22.4. And these sprue cutters are the Tamiya ones. They are very nice. I recommend them. And you can find the super glue I was using and these in my Amazon store. I put a link in the description below. It just makes it so much easier to get these parts off. If you're going to invest this much money into these kits, why not have quality tools for that? And this is definitely a quality tool. And I'll take my Tamiya file from the basic file set, smooth this off, take off some of the material, take off the chrome plating, you don't have to remove much of it, just to where you see some of the plating come off. Do the other side a little bit. And we'll do a test fit. That is good. Alright, now let's get my yellow tack out again. And I want to secure this down where I can best use it, probably on this side. Secure that there. Put some yellow tack on the other side. We'll line it up with a pin. There we go. And I'm going to squeeze down both sides with the yellow tack. The pin is lined up perfect. Alright, so we have our alignment going on there. We'll take our pin, drop it in, take my X-Acto blade again, squeeze it through. Perfect. And And we have movement, and the pin is inserted all the way evenly on both sides. A little bit there. There we go. Make it flush on both sides, and we are good. Now we insert it on the skull, just like we did before. Just like this side, we're going to flip this over, and we're going to insert it on the other side. Remember, we have those two holes that we have to go into. Right there and right there. And then we got those in, and then it inserts right there into the jaw. Get my glue looper, a super glue. Right there. Apply the super glue to that point right there. And we'll move the actuator rod over to it. And there we go. All in. Take my super glue accelerator, my kicker, and spray it. And that should be good. And we have both our actuator rods. We have both actuator rods assemblies hooked up. Jaw still moves. Perfect. Let's move on to the next step. And before we do the next step, I like to keep my bench as clean as possible so I don't lose any parts. So that extra pin, I don't know if we're going to need it later on, but I went ahead and in my little pill box, which you can find on my Amazon store, I put it in here with all the extra parts that I have. And you can see I've been saving all the screws in here, so everything is nicely marked. We have a lot of different size PM screws, a lot of different sized PB screws, some KB screws, and PWB screws and so forth, KMs and such. So this is really handy to keep all your screws in. You'll find a link in the description below on how you can find these. They're not very expensive. So, and the final step is step 9 and 10. We simply put the face plate on finally, and it just inserts into a keyway right here on this side and a keyway on this side over here. Slide in. And it should be snug, which it is. And we don't have to glue it just yet. And that looks good there and there. And we still have the back part we need to put on a little bit later. Our wiring for the motors, for the jaw and such. And that completes stage 22. We're not going to use this little shoulder piece just yet. That will be later on. But it was thoroughly enjoyable to install these actuators here. Fiddly parts. You have to be very careful. And as you saw in my video, it worked out very well. And we also put the faceplate on. And it's nice and snug. It's not glued down. And that's looks fantastic. It really looks pretty evil there. And you can just see how big this is by my hand. And if you like my video, please give me a thumbs up. Please subscribe to my channel and hit the bell for all video upload notifications. Head over to Agora Models and subscribe to this kit today. It's fantastic. You will not regret it. Thanks for watching, everybody, and take care.